And welcome to the podcast Les Millionnaires des Diamants. So today's actually on August 18. It's a special episode because we actually finishing the book that we started. Yes, like we started before you left for China and Japan. So it was in April, in March, I think that we've started. So already like a couple of months that we are here, and I really love that last section because today is kind of the afterword. And for that final chapter, as you will see, this one is a bit personal. Yes, for the author, but also with the story that isn't about communication technique, but it's about what makes a happy life. So in the story, okay, as we will see, it's a study that lasted 80 years, and it's a Harvard study of adult development. Okay. And it's actually what they discovered throughout that story is really, really impressive. So, what we're going to see is inside that study that has been made like a couple years ago, the story of two men. Okay. That's starting their life from a very different situation and actually end up in the opposite end of the spectrum for each other that actually the researcher thought it will be. And this is what makes the big difference. This is what we will discover. So, yes, the podcast will be about that story, but we will look at how it applies for us in MLM because the lesson that we will learn can change everything in our life and in our business. So, Sylvain, I'll let you start the story.
Yes, so this story it's amazing. Can you imagine? They follow people for like 60 years, something like this. It's the story of a businessman. So he is selling spatula, and he wants to know what's characteristic. Okay, um, good manager of a store can have. Okay, so they say, okay, he was rich, so he say, okay, I'm gonna found a story and study, and I'm going to ask Harvard to do that story. So he give them money to make sure that they are going to find what characteristic is good for a good manager in a store. But the researcher at Harvard, they add another idea. They say, okay, we're going to take his money. We're going to work on his research, but we're going to have more data. Okay. And they had a different idea. They want to follow healthy young men for a decade to understand what's make them happy or unhappy, healthy or sick. So they recruit hundreds of Harvard students and they follow them their entire lives. So questionnaire, exam, interview. So every year they are following up with them to make sure that they see their health, how they um, are happy, unhappy, everything. So among them, there are two men. So the first one is Camille. He had a miserable childhood. His parents were pathologically suspicious. He grew up isolated. At Harvard, he was weak, sleepy, solitary. He goes to the infirmary all the time. He always had he was a hypochondriac, so always thinking he is sick of something. And during war, he become a soldier, and he finished the war without glory. Okay. The second one, it's Marsden. He was a healthy and he came from an healthy, no, yeah, he came from a healthy but wealthy and influential family. He was brilliant. He has an exceptional education, and he served in the army. And he was decorated, and he becomes a lawyer. He was married. He was successful. So of course, the researcher had that idea. They say, "Oh my God, that man is on top. Okay, he is very probably is going to finish his life very happy, very wealthy. Um, and they say, you know what, Camille, he came from poverty, he came from a family who it's miserable, so probably he will finish depressed and alone. And so that study stopped because the guy who decided to found that story, he was not happy with the result, and he was they had their own idea of the study, but he was paying for trying to find the best characteristic of a good manager. So he decided, okay, I'm gonna stop funding that study. So the study stopped, of course, because they tried to find other source of revenue, but they say, okay, we're gonna stop. So they store the box in somewhere in the university, and in the 1970s, some new student found them, and they said, oh, you know what? We are going to continue the study, okay? And you know what? What they discovered, okay, that their prediction were not what they were expecting.
Yes, I'm going to let you know what actually they discovered many years later. So they actually get in touch back with all the people that take part of that study like many years ago. So Camille, okay, the one that they thought will be a failure, actually become a respected physician. He was married. He has children who adore him. Like he's a leader of his church. He even founded a specialized clinic. He was invited to like symposia. He got like interviewed on television. And at 80, he threw a party, like more than 300 people came. And at 82, like he decided to go hikes in the Alps. Unfortunately, he died of a heart attack on that trail, but at his funeral, the church was full and everybody has just like good word for him. Like his son even said he lived a very simple life, but a very rich one. The researcher decided that Camille is probably the happiest participant in the entire study when they look back at the data from the beginning and what happened till the end. On the other side, you remember like Marsden, so the brilliant lawyer. Actually, he was divorced. Okay, he lived alone. He's in conflict with his children, and he has no friends. So during like the following interview, like starting in the 70s, he even says, "I kept everything to myself. I hold on." Okay, he remarried, but he says that the relationship was loveless. Okay, and when he answered the question, do you go to your wife when you're upset? He writes, no, definitely not. I wouldn't get any sympathy, and it'd be told like a sign of weakness. So he stopped answering the questionnaires, and researchers later discovered that he died alone. So how was it possible? Okay, how did Camille, the one who started with nothing in a dysfunctional family, dysfunctional parents, okay, end up so happy? And Marsden, who had the environment, okay, that was good for him at the beginning, and he ended up alone and kind of miserable.
Yeah. So the great discovery is love and relationship, Jean-Philippe. So the researcher analyzed more than 80 years of data, and they found an answer. What makes the difference between, success, a life of success, okay? And it's not about money. It's not about career. It's not about genetics, okay? What makes the difference is that quality of relationship. One researcher writes the single most important variable in determining whether someone ends up happy and healthy or unhappy and sick is satisfaction in their relationship. So we see a lot of people, they sometimes they are rich, they are married like 5 times, divorced 4 times, they have children, they don't talk to their children. So look at Brad Pitt. I don't know if he's happy or not unhappy, but married. He is divorce, then he doesn't talk to his children. So of course he doesn't have the relationship with the close one. So probably he is not the happiest person in the world, even he has a lot of money. Okay, so this is what it's important to know. So the difference is the quality of relationship. The most important influence by far are fulfilling life is love. So it's not romantic love, but when you love your friends, when you love your neighbor, so it makes the difference. It's like a deep connection with your family. It's a deep connection with your friends, your colleagues. So that way you are surrounded with people who loves you and you love them and you have good relationship with them. So this is something that emerged from that research. And people who end up happy are having the warm adult relationship. They have the good marriage, they have a strong bond with their children, and a solid friendship.
Yes. So actually, this is what Camille learned, okay, throughout his life, especially during that time that he was in hospital. Okay, we didn't mention it, but like it was a case. So he learned to connect. But Marsden learned to protect himself. Okay, so and this is what makes the difference because that protection becomes like not a good protection about like your environment, but protection that you don't doesn't want like to create those relationships. So this is the big difference. So Marsden at 43, he write that he thinks about death, failure, the tension at work, okay? And he mentioned no one else in his life, okay, that was surrounding him and that could help him, okay? So when he's upset, he just withdrawn himself instead of finding solution and try to have a discussion, okay, with people. When he argues, he leaves, okay? He doesn't talk, he doesn't connect at all. So when you withdraw yourself all the times, unfortunately, you're avoiding conflicts as we've been talking, but those conversations, remember, are worth it. But Camille, on the other end, he learns to connect. And at the hospital, he made friends, he joined a church, he volunteered, and he built relationship. And this is what Camille wrote, okay? He said, connection is something you have to let happen. And you know what I've learned? And I learned to love. I learned to love people. So, Sylvain, how do we adapt that to our MLM situation?
Okay, what we are saying about our business, Jean-Philippe, we always say it's a relationship business. This is it, and that study say it loud. So I love the connection that we made today. That we this is always what we say. This is a building. This is a relationship business, and that study of 80 years say the same. Okay, so it's simple. We just not sell a product. We build relationship with people. Okay, when we recruit a new consultant, we are not selling a kit, we are building a relationship. We have to know her better, we have to know what are her needs, what is her dream, what she wants to do, and how can we help her to realize all of this. So I have that I opened a store in Chicoutimi. So with one of my consultant and one of my director, and she was struggling in the last month. And I say, you know what, we are going to do something, and we are going to open the store. So I give her my hands, and I know how to do it. We have a little bit of experience, Jean-Philippe. So we decide we're going to do it together. And by doing this, I learn how she is. So her dream is to have her own farmhouse. Okay, she wants to stay with the kids at home. She wants to have animals. So she wants to have a chicken. Actually, wants to want chef, goats, pigs. So, and she wants to that kids can live with those animals. And she had the chance to have this when she was young, and she wants to give the same from our children. So this is what I learned while we were working. So I was asking questions. So we are building that relationship together, and this is what it's all about. Okay, so when we have someone who is struggling, so we give it our hands and we try to help them and elevate them. So when we build a team, we're not just holding meeting. Okay, we're creating bonds that make people feel at home. When we were in person before, so let's say every week I was seeing you. Let's say we do a hug, we chat a little bit, and you chat with your people, and this is what it's all about, the MLM. So it's about connecting, and you know when you sell, it's connecting with the customer. So this is what it's all about.
Yes. And this is what the study like mentioned, that happy people are the one who invest in their relationships. No matter like if it's with your partner, your coworker, your friends, acquaintance, it's really about investing time and like apply what we've just like learned, okay, throughout the podcast in their relationship. So in our MLM, that means that the true measure of success, okay, isn't only revenue, it's the quality of connection that you create. Because remember, and this is like actually is connected with the foundation of our company that Brownie Wise said, build the people and they will build the business. So build the connection, and throughout that, you will build the business. So if we get back to our story at Camille, like he had nothing at first, no family, no health, no success, but he learned to connect. And this is what changed everything. But Marsden had everything: family, money, career, but he didn't know how to connect, and he died alone. So the difference, okay, is that the choice that they made, okay, Marden chose to protect himself and Camille chose to open up. So in our MLM, okay, we can make the same choice. We can protect ourselves, we can keep our distance, or we can stay in our comfort zone. But if we open up, if we decide to ask those deep questions, if we really listen, if we are vulnerable, this is what will help us create bonds.
Yes. So now, Jean-Philippe, shall we close this book? Okay. So if we want to do a wrap up, okay. So um, that author give us the four rule of learning conversation. Okay, so we have to identify the type of conversation that we are having. Okay, so that was at the beginning of the podcast. Are we talking about practical? Okay, let's say I have a problem and we want to have a solution, so I'm in the practical mode. Maybe I'm on the emotional. Okay, I want to share something with you, and you are you are listening to me, and maybe you're going to give me vulnerability in return. Okay, or identity based, we're going to talk about our identity, what is defining us. Number two, we are sharing our goals. Okay, so when we have a conversation, we are looking for what is the intention of the other one, and what are my intention when we are having that conversation. Number three, we ask about and share emotion in the how we feel conversation. We see that we talk about um, the 30 question that we can ask people, and when we ask those kind of questions, we see that it creates connection. So you remember, Jean-Philippe, we ask them to, when we do our training, so we give them two choice of question, and they say, okay, you are in a pair, you're going to ask a question to your other one, to the one. So I asked, let's say, one of my colleague, what was the last time that you cried? Okay, and she became emotional. So because she became emotional, I became emotional, and I share something very personal, and that makes a connection. And we see it in some participant express it. So they say we are not knowing each other, but because I share something very personal, so now we became like friends. Okay, so when you are authentic with people, when we are sharing how you feel, so you're gonna build a strong bond with the people and explore the role of identity. So in the who are we conversation, so this is important to explore the role of identity, because Jean-Philippe is not just a podcaster. Jean-Philippe is a director. Jean-Philippe is a friend. Jean-Philippe is a dog lover. Okay, he have multiple identity. And what we take away from this entire book is that connection is the more important things in life. And we gave you a lot of tools that you can use for create good connection.
Yes. And the first step actually to like accomplish that is to wanting that connection. Okay, so like wanting to understand the person in front of you, wanting to have that deep conversation, even if it's hard and even if it's scary. Because let's be real, it's scary to ask, like let's say, Sylvain, the question that you asked, when is the last time that you cried in front of somebody? This is like scary, like to ask, because you really don't know if the person, like how the person is going to react. But as we see, okay, every conversation that are yes difficult are worth it. Okay, and the Harvard study showed it. People connect are happier, healthier, and like live longer. So, challenge this week, okay? Invest in your relationship. Like, call a friend like you haven't called in a long time. Maybe ask them like a deep question, okay? Like, tell someone what they mean to you, okay? Because as you will see, like from Camille, that was from a different, a dysfunctional family, connection doesn't happen by accident. You have to let them happen. So, thank you so much, Guy, for being with us with that segment of the podcast. Our book is officially finished. Sylvain and I haven't decided on what will be our next subject, but next week we will start a new.
We know the subject. We don't know which book.
Yeah, exactly. So on that, thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you tomorrow morning with Maria and Marie-Pierre.